Welcome to another translated and adapted car review from yours truly, Dmitry of Value Cars Australia, and we are looking at another production by the Russian very famous automotive journal called the RULEM. It's an amazing automotive magazine from my childhood, мой любимый журнал, спасибо вам большое за контент, and I'm bringing their amazing content to you, my friends, English-speaking audience. They are looking at a fresh new HAVAL M6. Yes, it's an M6. It's not an H6 that I sit in right now. And what I thought was amazing about this video is that it was a fairly good review. It's not a disassembly. It's not maybe every nut and bolt, but they still look under the car as well as outside the car. And our host Kirill here is going to speak to us very openly about how he believes GWM evolved their proposition, their market proposition, their lineup of cars, at least on the territory of Russia, to these more optimized, a lot more value for money than even jolion, even slightly more established kind of models such as H6. But this M6 is of great interest to me, and I watched their video and I thought, wow, what if GWM actually took a bold move and brought M6 to Australia? If not to replace jolion, then to at the very least add to the lineup, just like they did in Russia. Because think about it, my friends, the companies have similar rollout branding strategies in different countries. I'm sure you would agree with me. It's not like they invent a new strategy for a country. They adapted it slightly, but not exactly change it fundamentally. So in this particular case, there is a time and a place for M6. And you will see in this review why. I will do my best to translate as always I do. If you like these kind of videos, if you've missed a little bit of this kind of stuff for me, please give me a like and visit the original content if you would like, just to simply take a look at how they put it together, because obviously I adapted the video a little bit, but you will need to understand Russian before you do that. So if you don't, then just subscribe to my channel. What a nice little alternative for you. Yeah, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Let's go.
Majority of automotive manufacturers these days are trying to pack a lot and often unnecessary extras into their cars, trying to prove this way that the car gives you as a buyer a lot of value and bang for your buck. Chery Model 5, I'm kinda looking at you here. Our host Kirill says that it is refreshing to see that in the case of Haval M6, Great Wall Motor clearly thought of what the driver would really need and appreciate versus what is optional and can be safely stripped away from this model, keeping its overall cost down while not compromising on quality. In Russia, they can get Haval M6 with manual or DCT transmissions, manual being cheaper and is perceived also as more robust and easier to repair on the territory of Russia in the present and very uncertain day and age. People don't have that much money to play with and want to protect their investment as much as possible, which is understandable, and we here in Australia should probably start thinking along the same lines, I must add, regardless of political conditions. We do not need sanctions, we already have extortionist interest rates, don't we? That's my attempted joke, you're allowed to laugh if you didn't get it. Oh my god, tough crowd. M6 is really optimized, with good light, 17-inch wheels with normal, not low-profile tires, which are frankly much cheaper to replace in the aftermarket, easier to repair, and often offer extra insulation from the road noise and various bumps. Styling of the car is pretty good, obviously subjective, nothing too fancy, like it's kinda a family wagon really, simple to appreciate color options, which are only like less than a handful. There is a stop-start button, keyless entry, it's a very roomy vehicle, offering very generous interior space that we'll talk about a little further into the video. Russian petrol equivalent that is used for this car suggests that if it was to be released in Australia, it would run on 91. There is a reverse camera, reverse sensors, and very, very good suspension. Here we have our host Kirill lift the car and show us the underbelly. Before you comment, of course it's nothing like our other friend Ilya from Klubny Service, but I do appreciate that my favorite automotive magazine the RULEM at least makes an effort to show us some mechanical elements and what the car looks like from underneath, rather than just the exterior and interior that we expect from any other mainstream automotive review channel. We have unpainted plastic shields covering up quite a lot of underbody of M6, which Kirill thinks is appropriate, as this is not an off-roader designed for very heavy beating, and yet it still offers a rather solid protection on less than optimal road conditions across Russia, and I would also personally welcome it in Australia too for kinda light off-roading or family adventures, where 4x4 capability is obviously not required. There are towing hooks here wired right into the body, surprisingly well placed and easy to access. Clearance on this vehicle is measured between 17 and 18 centimeters, which is rather generous, I'm sure you would agree. There is a smartly placed access window to the bolt that you would unscrew if you wanted to change the oil of the engine by yourself, as well as access to the oil filter. Front suspension is reassuring and offers here a classic approach to, like with the use of McPherson struts, showing very strong levers here and arms, and the whole construction suggests that one would have possibly no issues with many thousands of kilometers of having this car in heavy family use. Exhaust pipe might look like it hangs a little bit low and you might scrape it, but Kirill actually says that it's tucked away quite nicely at level or even a bit higher than the protected fuel tank over here, which suggests that even if you do go off-road a little bit, these elements should not be damaged at all. Plastic thresholds here on the sides are kinda purely cosmetic, and perhaps maybe they're protecting the paint from some stone chips. But if you were, let's say, to put a jack underneath there to lift the car, to change a tire or what have you, you would need to be very careful and put it much deeper, slide it much deeper, so that it actually touches the underbody, the steel underbody frame of M6, finding one of those steel beams that are designed to carry that weight, as the plastic threshold might look tough, and it creates this illusion of being ready to support the weight of the vehicle, but it's not there and you would just tear it off, so it's just a word of warning. Engine of M6 is 143 horsepower, 1.5 turbo petrol engine, same apparently as being used on Haval Jolion, but with slightly differently tuned kind of numbers there, tiny difference in horsepower and tiny difference in Newton meter torque. I've already mentioned manual transmission for Russian market, going as the base version of M6, but there is a DCT option that increases the price of the vehicle a little bit, and it would be fair to assume that DCT would probably come standard, like as a first preferred version for the Australian market, if GWM were to actually bring M6 to our shores, which I'm secretly hoping for. Kirill points out that at least for Russia, Haval didn't shy away from applying rather generous insulation rubber lining here under the bonnet, kind of on the edge of it, to prevent extra moisture and any other unnecessary elements penetrating the engine bay, which is nice to see. It's a good touch. The boot and loading capacity of the car would be very important, and some might even say it's more important than what's happening there on the rear row of seats for sure. And here we're shown that very generous, comfortable boot opening with a tailgate that raises to about 188 centimeters, allowing even a rather tall individual to approach the tailgate very comfortably and load up the car, let's say, without bumping their head. The boot is truly massive, especially if you were to fold the rear row of seats. The boot floor can be kind of stuck in that 45-degree position as demonstrated to us here to allow easier access to the spare tire and a variety of instruments there. The car comes with a space-saver tire, but Kirill says that there is enough space here to fit in a full-size tire. If you really wanted to replace it, you would just have to remove the toolbox and maybe reposition those tools into some duffel bag or something like that, if you would like to properly reorganize this space as an owner. The seats in M6 are cloth, funnily enough, and our host here actually praises it, as most cars of Chinese origin lately have leatherette seats these days, but cloth is actually a lot more pleasant in the hot and cold weather. It's a lot more pleasant if you are sweating in the hot summers or whatnot, and as long as it is obviously stitched well and the quality of it is nice and not like in Honda HR-V, and that's me adding it on top. Seat adjustments are manual, not electric powered, but very acceptable according to Kirill, and apparently quite comfortable too. Steering wheel also offers full adjustment of tilting angle and telescopic retraction for like closer or further away from the driver, which is amazing to see and is not often present on the modern day relatively budget vehicles. There is an analog instrument panel, at least in this particular M6 model, which Kirill really likes, and I do too. I agree with him wholeheartedly, as we all need just clarity of instruments showing us the speed, the revs, the fuel, and possibly tire pressure. And that's all we really need. In addition to digital controls, there are physical buttons giving you quick access to the main functions such as the aircon, seat heating, and so on, which I personally love already about my Haval H6, and it's great to see that M6 has the same thing. And as always, with Haval vehicles, we have a little extra storage shelf for smaller items, such as your wireless Apple CarPlay adapter or a fat wallet at the bottom to put it out of the way. Central storage box here is also rather generous and even has an adjustable slidable top cushion for your elbow so that you can feel more comfortable on those long drives. The rear seats are roomy, as expected for this wagon-shaped vehicle. Plenty of space between the cushion of the rear seat and the back of the passenger or driver seat in the front. It has also rather flat floor and heaps of headroom. We already said that the turbo petrol engine here is only 1.5 liters, but close to 150 horsepower is apparently plenty to drive nicely around town. And what else do you really honestly need for a family wagon like this? DCT transmission is feeling a little sluggish, especially as you're taking off, but there are multiple driving modes as expected and easy to access physical button that allows you to cycle through different driving modes. So there is a sport mode that Kirill says you can just select and keep the car in it, and that apparently shortens the initial acceleration delay quite substantially and will likely make you feel a bit better, that the car is a bit more responsive, but probably will increase fuel consumption as well. Final note that our host is making relates to stock sound insulation yet again, as he says he did not genuinely expect it to be any good at all, but it actually impressed him, and I personally think it also thanks to the normal, not low profile tires and those 17-inch wheels, not 16-inch or something like that. Seriously, low profile tires look great, but they are absolutely not practical, and I also wish we had more cars in Australia that come on large rims but with non-low profile tires. The car has disc brakes, it feels easy to control, has very good visibility for the driver, big side mirrors help with that too, has very good headlights, better than halogen lights apparently, at least according to Kirill here. So let us summarize, my friends. Haval M6 is a new, cost-effective, feature-optimized vehicle from a brand that is perceived as well-established and proven itself on the territory of Russia. Leaving any of your personal thoughts on Russia and the political situation around the world out of this, as always, I trust Russians' judgment on this more than I ever would trust our local Australian reviewers or brand snobs. GWM is a very solid worldwide brand, and the weather plus road conditions in Russia are so much more challenging than they are in Australia. So if they are saying that the brand is doing great and they welcome this even more cost-effective and optimized car from GWM Haval on their roads, so should we. I hope GWM Australia has a plan of refreshing their vehicle lineup in 2024 and beyond, perhaps replacing slightly outdated jolion, subjective opinion, with something like this M6. Did you enjoy this video? Well, if you did, then give it a like. What are you waiting for? Leave a comment and let me know if you like what you see in this rather good, I think, presentation by my favorite Russian car magazine, RULEM, and if you enjoy this type of translated content from me, in addition to the obviously other types of videos that I am normally producing. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, subscribe for more if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you next time.